You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Join Steve and his guests every week as he staggers from Georgia to Maine.
Hi, and welcome back again to Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. While I remember it, by the way, Ryan, who puts these shows out so steadfastly and so regularly for us, is off to the UK. I think it's tomorrow, or maybe it's the day after, so either Friday or Saturday, to work in the UK for State College of Florida. I wish him all the best on the way there, and when he comes back, he's going to be hiking the Appalachian Trail himself, and we are considering making a program of him hiking the Appalachian Trail. Ryan takes a hike. So listen about more for that. It's been quite a week again, and we are getting closer and closer to Katahdin. These are dramatic times where you start putting into focus your thoughts about finishing and the various bits and bobs that are associated with finishing. You have to get the logistics right, because we're coming up to the 100-mile wilderness, and how much food you carry, how much you get dropped. So it's kind of exciting. And I can tell you now, I'm doing this from Monson. Monson is the beginning of the 100-mile wilderness. And it may very well be that I don't get another show out to you either till just after I've finished climbing Katahdin, or I may get one out beforehand. But what I hope to do is to try to record each night in camp what happened that day. But, whether I get any service at all, I think it's unlikely, but we'll see. But I'll try to put a show out as soon as I possibly can. And Ryan will be doing it from London in this particular case. But let's first hear what happened on day number 168. Day number 168, East Flagstaff Road, mile 20.4, northbound this time, to Pierce Pond Lean-To, mile 2036.8, a 16.4 mile day. We left where we'd been staying in Stratton at 5:30 in the morning, and he dropped us back at the exit from the woods. Sometimes the path comes out onto a road, and there's a walk along the road. So he could have dropped us about 100 yards, 200 yards further back to enter the woods on the northbound side. But really, we kind of like to be dropped where we dropped the day before, so we can do, at least we're doing all the miles. We may not always be going the right direction, but at least we're doing all the miles. And this was a day for lakes. Amazing amount of lakes we saw today. The first one was Flagstaff Lake, and we went alongside it in the woods mainly, but with occasional views. And I was always looking for moose. We still have not seen a moose, and still have only seen one bear. It's kind of pathetic, really. We went alongside it for about 2 miles before heading away from it. These ponds or lakes are kind of otherworldly again, a bit like I say that moose are kind of otherworldly. This is not a life I'm used to, or a place I'm used to. These beautiful silent lakes, they are magnificent and great to see. I really enjoy it. So then we headed away from it, as I say, and we curved around the southern end of West Carry Pond for another couple of miles before heading east again. And on the way to East Carry Pond, and by the way, this was all much, much easier profiles. Really enjoyed it. But we did go through a swamp, and to go through the swamps, you use these timber bog bridges. And these are maintained normally so well by the various clubs, but, they're getting a bit worn now, and you can see there's still work going on where they're renewing the wood and so on, because every now and then you put your foot on these timber bridges and they'll tip or slip or something like that. It can be kind of dangerous. I didn't actually go in, but it was a close run thing a couple of times. We then hit East Carry Pond, rounding the northern end, so with once again seeing these beautiful views and really enjoying these views of the lakes as you go past. It's so quiet there. There was no boats on it, there were no people around it. It was just absolutely glorious out there. But, our plan was actually, let's step back from that. Once we left East Carry, we went east again to reach Pierce Pond. the reason we were going for Pierce Pond, and it was quite a way, it was a 16.4 mile day, was we had to cross the Kennebec River the following morning. And the Kennebec River, I don't know whether it's the main Appalachian Trail Club or the ATC themselves who provide a canoeist, a guy who rows across to meet you, starts at 9 in the morning at these busy times till 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And we have to be by the Kennebec before 9 to make sure we get at least, we didn't want to wait hours to get across there, obviously. So we were stopping at the Pierce Pond lean-to make sure that we were early enough for the following morning. There were quite a few people. There was a really good shelter vibe. So obviously people had the same sort of ideas as we did. So Trigger and I, not being the fastest, or to be fair, not the slowest of hikers, we thought we'd have a good shot at getting there at a reasonable time because we tend to get up quite early. There was a lovely vibe. There were plenty of youngsters and plenty of older people camped all around or going in the shelter, and some of the youngsters took a dip in the water. And I'm annoyed with myself for saying this. I just couldn't be bothered. It is because I'm older, I guess. I don't want to strip off that much in front of a bunch of other people. And, you then get everything that's wet. But these youngsters just don't care. They dive in, put their clothes back on over their wet bodies. They're happy to go. So it isn't a problem for them at all. But I just couldn't be bothered. And I'm kind of annoyed with myself that I can't be bothered. And I haven't actually swum in one of the ponds, I don't think, so far. Certainly not in Maine, anyway. So really the day had been relatively easy in terms of profile, with no big climbs at all to speak of. So the 16 miles was easy enough to get to, but it was also what we had to do to be in position for the following morning. Just a word about where I camped. When I got there, I looked around and there was a little dip down of about 8 feet to a little flat spot right by the water's edge. It was perfect. So I set my tent up down there, jumped down there quickly to get it, set my tent up, and it was magnificent. I got in my tent that night and the sun was going down behind the mountain. There was a bit of cloud and we were expecting some rain. We didn't think we'd get too much rain, although there was the potential for thunderstorms at about 3 p.m. And as it happened, we'd got a few drops of rain, about 10 minutes at about 3 p.m. So it woke me up and I just had to close my vestibule, because I kept my vestibule open right onto the pond. So you're looking out there the whole time. It was absolutely beautiful. But that's the end of day number 168. Day number 169, Pierce Pond Lean-to, mile 2036.8 to Pleasant Pond Lean-to, mile 2046.5, just a 9.7 mile day. In the morning, we had to walk along a kind of mini dam that releases water from the pond into Pierce Pond stream cascades. Looked quite dangerous, actually. There were bits of rotting wood and so while walking along it. And I half expected to be flushed away down into the stream, but I got across it no problem at all. The previous night, somebody had noticed there was this kind of ad for Harrison's Pierce Pond camp, kind of sporting camp that caters to 80 hikers. And the threat of 12 pancakes, eggs and sausage kind of got us all. Trigger and I certainly put our name down for it. And some of the youngsters that went along to, because they don't care doing this, do they? They go 0.3, 0.4 of a mile to this place, booked us in for the following morning, which you have to do. And he says pancakes are served at 7 a.m. So it was perfect for us to leave at about, I think, 6:30 a.m. to get there for breakfast. And I tell you what, and Trigger said this himself, these were the finest pancakes he'd ever had in his life. Apple, blueberries and raspberries were in the pancakes. It was just glorious. And he did beautiful fluffy scrambled eggs and 3 sausages. Man, we filled up. And of course, some of the youngsters and Trigger had extra pancakes at the end. It was just beautiful. Absolutely, absolutely loved it. I highly recommend Harrison's Pierce Pond Camp to anybody who wants to have their breakfast. Remember though, if you're staying at Pierce Pond Lean-to, you just go 0.3 of a mile, or you send a youngster 0.3 of a mile, and they will book it up for you, and you go there at 7 a.m. the next morning. So once again, we knew we were going down to the Kennebec River, and the AT followed that stream the stream that the pond emptied into. So it's called Pierce Pond Stream Cascades. So the Pierce Pond Stream, we followed it pretty much all the way to the Kennebec River. It was really a pretty walk, actually. Lots of pine needles. And, of course, there were roots, and roots always drive me crazy. But, Maine seems to be one of the states that has a lot of roots. But we got all the way down there. And when we got there, we were about 5th or 6th in line. So it wasn't too bad at all, actually. And right on time, the canoe headed across. It's a lovely sight to see this guy just rowing across nice and gently. His dog, he left his dog on the far bank waiting. His dog, he said, greets hikers. Well, the dog actually greeted hikers way too well, because the second lot, he led them into town, into Karatunk. I hope the guy found his dog later on. I didn't hear at all about that, but anyway, a few people went on the boat, and then eventually, and Trigger and I actually split up. We could have gone together, but we split up so that we'd get pictures, one of him in the boat and one of me in the boat, or a couple of him in the boat and a couple of me in the boat. And when we got to the other side, there's this tiny little walk up a gentle hill, which gets us to Karatunk. You can carry on, you can go left, carrying on into the woods, or go straight up the downtown Karatunk, which is I think it's got about 35 people live there. But in fact, it turns out that his package that he needed to retrieve a box of supplies that had been sent to him from his brother. There was a package sent to Stirling Inn. We thought Stirling Inn was in Karatunk. It wasn't. It was outside Karatunk, about 1.5 mile walk along the road. You know what? AT hikers, they're happy to walk anywhere, but only if it's part of the AT. And a 1.5 mile walk along the road is fierce. It's horrible walking on hard roads. I don't know what it is. It just is. And we got there anyway. And very nice couple who could not be nicer. They said you can shower for free, you can do your laundry for free, there's a resupply shop if you want to buy some stuff. They were just so nice, but said unfortunately the package isn't here yet. So we just kind of hung around using their Wi-Fi and waiting. They were very happy for us to hang around on the porch, and it's one of the things you can do. It's nice to just hang out sometimes. And they thought they said it should be here by about 3 o'clock this afternoon. And we knew we had another 5 miles to do. I'd already planned only about 5 more miles that day, because I thought there'd be some problem with the package, and it turned out there was. But while we were waiting, we went and once again, the owner got his son to drop us down to the Kennebec River Brew Pub, which we did. And I'd actually done that in 2014, where we enjoyed burgers and beers, of course. We were joined by a young lad called Aladdin. Really nice guy. We've met him a long way back. Oh, probably, I don't know, mile 300 or 400, something like that. And Aladdin has got these, I don't know what sort of pants you call them, but they're these deep gusseted pants, I guess. Maybe I've got entirely the wrong word. They look like Aladdin pants, and they go around his calf. He's now got himself, though, an Aladdin hat, though, which is magnificent. And he is definitely Aladdin now. And he's a very relaxed guy. So even though he's a faster hiker than us, he tends to get into the social vortex a little bit and hang out from time to time and then move on. So we've actually left him behind in Karatunk this time. So we returned, thanks to another lift, this time from the owner of the pub, and the box was there, so it worked out really nice. We took out what we needed for the next few days and forwarded the rest of the box to Monson, our destination just 2 days ahead. We had to do 31 miles in 2 days, so I said we can do that easily, because the profile looked really good. So by 4 o'clock, we headed out again, and this time the owner took us back to the trailhead, so we didn't have to walk it, thankfully. And we headed out, and we easily reached Pleasant Pond Lean-To in a couple of hours. Very easy indeed. And funnily enough, there was no one else there when we got there. I feel that Trigger and I were right between bubbles at the moment, and there was just no one around that day. And it's got the best privy on the trail. That isn't saying a great deal, but it has got the best privy on the trail, and they should be proud of it. It's beautiful. Genuinely, it's beautiful. There was beach access, and there was loads of people around the beach, and I felt, I don't know, amongst all that humanity, I didn't really want to be there, so I headed straight back into the woods. Kind of weird, actually. But by that time, another guy had turned up, and he was chatting to Trigger, so I set up my tent and I slept on the slope, which I've done more than once in this trip. But it was a good day. We thoroughly enjoyed it ourselves at the Stirling Inn and the Kennebec River Pub, and crossing the crossing the river, and our beautiful breakfast at Harrison's. So that's the end of day number 169. Day 170, Pleasant Pond Lean-To, mile 2046.5, to Horseshoe Canyon Lean-To, mile 2068.5. A 22-mile day. What a day this turned out to be. The original plan had been, remember we had to get 31 miles to Monson, so we had to divide it up in some way. So we found that there was a shelter about 13 miles in, and just to sort of see how we felt. And then we knew that we'd have an 18-mile day the following day to reach Monson. None of us really fancied doing that, but the 18 miles was over a relatively, in fact, very easy terrain compared to the first 13 miles. And so none of us, as I say, were too sure what we wanted to do. So I suggested that we should consider a stealth campsite. I'm sorry about the dog barking outside, but I can't do anything about it. So neither of us, oh gosh, sorry about that. I suggested a stealth campsite around 4 miles further on from the lean-to, if we got there too early. And for Trigger, anything before 4 o'clock is too early, so he always wants to go on. I say I'm the lazy hiker. I'd stop and hang out in the sun for a bit, but he wants to keep going. We're getting great weather at the moment. We want to keep up this great weather, and I entirely understand that. But really, sometimes you guys sit down and smell the roses. But really, he's just desperate to get home right now. So that was the plan. Get to shelter, maybe go on, maybe not, see how it goes. So the day started with a 1,000-foot climb to the top of Pleasant Pond Mountain, followed by another climb up Moxie Bald Mountain a while later. Moxie Bald Mountain, there's a bit of dispute over the name. It's either Bald Mountain or Moxie Bald Mountain. There's a bit of a clue. The sign at the top, somebody put a marker through the name Moxie, so maybe it is Bald Mountain. But really, these views were extraordinary. We got up there and you've got the exposed granite summits. And I love walking through those because the trees, you're not above tree level, but the trees are very low. You've got super, super views all around of great lakes, and these lakes with no houses around them. And it's a real favourite of mine to see these lakes from above, and with all these spectacular days. I actually said to Trigger, I can see Katahdin. And he said, no, that's not Katahdin. I mean, he's never seen it for a start, but it was Katahdin because somebody confirmed later on they saw Katahdin there. So it was my first view of Katahdin from about 140 odd miles, trail miles away. So, I mean, it is a big old mountain, and you can recognise it when you see it, especially the shape of it anyway. But then we got onto Moxie Bald. That's even bolder. And you climb out where you think is the top, and you go up this very, very steep piece of granite again for about 200 or 300 yards, 200 yards probably. And actually the trail doesn't take you quite to the summit, which is only about 50 yards to your left. I don't know why it doesn't. So we went up there and had our picture taken there as well. But once again, magnificent, beautiful views. But after that, it was really easy going. There was a bit of a tough climb down from Moxie Bald, but once we got to the bottom, it was easy. So we got to the shelter, or the lean-to, around 2 p.m. Well, that's way too early. And so we sat down and had a bit of lunch. It was clear we were going to go on, and I was still thinking we were going to be heading on to the tent site, which would have been a stealth site, on about 4 miles further on. Trigger was quite keen that we should go on another 9 miles to the shelter, and I thought, I don't know if I can do that. So I said, why don't we just go on and see how we feel when we get to the stealth site? Well, saying that to Trigger is like saying, yeah, let's go on, but then we'll go on to where you really want to go. And he was, and he kind of knew I would anyway. So we started moving, and I started moving better and better. And I thought, well, this is so easy anyway. Let's just keep going. So we went on in the end. And we got there around 6:15, I think it was, having covered 22 miles in around 11 hours, including 3 good length breaks. So, you know what? It was worth doing because it means we've got a nice, easy 9 mile hike into Monson on the morning after. There was a spring. I haven't actually described this to you guys. someone said that there's a spring, but it's very, very weak water, but somebody's put a leaf in there. We knew what that meant. You find a little trickle of water, you get yourself a leaf, and you put the leaf in a good position and secure it, and the water goes over the leaf and turns into a mini spout, and you collect your water from that. It works perfectly. We filled up 3 bottles of beautiful, crystal clear, cold water from doing that each. So it took a little while to get it, but at least we got it. So we got back in and retired pretty quickly. We had some dinner, and then we were wiped out. So we went to bed about 7:30, 8 o'clock, and slept soundly. It was great. So that's the end of day number 170. Day number 171, Horseshoe Canyon Lean-To, mile 2068.5 to main route 15, Monson, mile 2077.5, less than 125 miles to go. And this particular day was just 9 miles. It was a really easy day into Monson, and there were just a few minor climbs, and it took us about 4 hours to get there, or get here, because this is where I'm recording from right now. And when we got to main route 15, a couple offered us a lift into town. People are so friendly like that. They saw us coming out looking disheveled, doubtless stinking, and they said, "Would you like us to take you into town?" What they were doing, they were actually slack packing their family, called The Family. I think it's mother, father, and 3 daughters, raising money for a charity. And these people have slack packed them since Georgia, and they've done over 20,000 miles in their car and RV. It's quite something, really. And they were lovely people, and they took us into town. And at Shaw's, we checked in and showered, laundered, and then went to the pub. And the server, I promise you this is true, the server said she had never, ever seen anybody eat as much as Trigger. He just orders tons of food and loves it, and he's very happy. Some of the bills we get, and some of his bills, are just ridiculous. But that's the way it is, I guess. So then back at Shaw's, we worked out our plan. And this is the plan. We're going to finish on Friday the 23rd of August is the plan currently. And that's not easy to do from here. We don't think anyway, but we think what we're going to do, we're going to get to the park on Thursday night, Baxter State Park. Let's step back a bit. Friday, we're going to climb Katahdin. So therefore means we need to get to Baxter State Park on the Thursday. Then and to get into Baxter State Park on the Thursday, we're going to stay at Abel Bridge, which is about less than a mile from the Baxter State boundary, where you have to register and your intention to stay at Baxter State Park as a through hiker. There are 12 of us apparently will get spots. We're going to get up very early to make sure we get our spots, maybe 3, 4 in the morning, just wait for the guy to get there, and hopefully get our spots in Baxter State Park. Walk in on that Thursday, nice easy 10-mile drive, or 10-mile ride. Then we spoke with Shaw's, and we've worked out we can pick up food from Joe Mary Road on Monday afternoon at 4 p.m. And then there's a couple of 18 or 20-mile days on much flatter terrain. Anyway, we worked it all out, and we think we can do it. It's going to be 2 longish days to get to Abel Bridge, but then those last 2 days, the Thursday, and the Thursday is 10 miles from Abel to Baxter State Park, and of course Katahdin is 4.5 miles up and 4.5 miles down. It's going to be fun. We're really looking forward to finishing on Friday the 23rd, because we just don't want to finish on a weekend. And as far as food resupply is concerned, we've got a lot of food here at Shaw's. Trigger got some from obviously the box that his brother sent, and I got a few of those as well. But we've divided up what we're taking with us the next few days. Trigger was totally confused. I kept telling him how many dinners he needed, and hopefully he's got enough, and hopefully I got enough. I probably got a bit too much myself, because once they drop our food at Joe Mary Road, we only need to stay alive for another couple of days before we get to Abel Bridge, where we can get more food. You know what? It may work out like that. It may not work out like that. But I'm pretty confident it's going to work out okay. But that really is the end of day number 171. So, here we are. We're in Monson with just 115 miles to go. We've set our plan and we both think that it's very doable, and people around us, a lot of the people around us are planning the same sort of timing as well. We really don't want to hike up Katahdin on a weekend, and I don't want to hang around till Monday. But at the same time, if the weather plays up, that may scupper our plans a bit, and we may have to be a bit later. But I think to finish on the 23rd will be 3 or 4 days inside 6 months, and that's reasonably respectable, I guess. Before I go, I want to thank everybody who supported me on this trip. Your emails and your texts and your Facebook comments and the like are all read, and if I can, I try to respond if you kind of phrase it in a question. I don't always, and I do miss, and I sometimes intend to come back and I don't do it, and I apologise for that. But believe me, I always try to respond if I possibly can. And this podcast has been fun for me, and I'm delighted that it seems to have captivated a number of you as well. And I hope you think it's worth doing. Several of you already do so, but if you don't know, you can follow me also on Instagram at Hiking Radio Network, all one word, and so you can see all the photos I've taken, and there are a lot of them, I've got to tell you. Or you can see a lot of my videos on YouTube at Steve Adams. Now, as one of the most common names in the world, if you put in Steve Adams Mighty Blue, you should find it. And if you want to subscribe, you'll see any of the videos I put up there. One last thing. While I'm doing this hike for me, and there's no question that I am doing it for me, I'm also raising money for a local child abuse prevention centre that's close to my heart, Parenting Matters. And that's in Bradenton, Florida. And I was chairman of the board for 3 years, and I'm back on the board now, having had to drop off for a year. So when I get back, I'll be resuming, as a member of that board. And if you'd like to support me in this, just drop me an email at steve@mightyblueontheat.com with the amount that you'd be prepared to give. We've had as much as $1,000 and as little as $5. So everything really helps. And when I get home, I'll email you with a thank you and the link to donate. I'll see you next time.